So today's lesson is going to be one of my favorite topics because it's the overhand shuffle. Now, the overhand shuffle is so expansive that I'm going to have to split it into two parts. This is the beginner section, and later on in a different lesson, we're going to have a more advanced version of the overhand shuffle because there are so many things you could do with the shuffle. It's kind of unbelievable. So today we're going to go over basic jogs as well as some fundamental controls you're going to need to do when completing an overhand shuffle. So the first things first, remember the overhand shuffle is this style of mixing the cards. You are drawing packets from the right hand. The right hand is in this sort of biddle grip. Again, you could have your finger in this sort of position. You can have your finger in this sort of position. But ultimately, you're using the left hand and the thumb to draw packets onto the left hand from the right hand's deck. So the first thing and the first distinction that needs to be made with this shuffle is the difference between shuffling off, which is this, and running. Running is the simple act of using your thumb to pull cards singly. So one useful technique for using this sort of idea of running the cards is, let's say we need this top card in a certain position in the deck. So what we would need to do is run that amount of cards on top of this card in order for that to actually take place. So let's say this card needs to be 7th from the top of the deck. The way that would look like in concert while you're shuffling is like that. So in that simple act of shuffling, I've controlled that card. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7th from the top. And we're going to go over the techniques to make that possible right now. So the first thing is the actual jog itself. Now the jog is going to be a very important aspect of overhand shuffle because it's going to allow you to seemingly shuffle the cards in a fair fashion, however, still maintain control. So the jog is simply taking one card and in-jogging it towards your body slightly as you shuffle the rest of the cards normally squared up with the deck. So what this does is that this creates a card here which is sticking out in the back. You notice that? There's a card sticking out in the back which allows you to press up with your thumb. So now you've created a thumb break. So we go back to the lesson on thumb breaks. So now if you shuffle to this thumb break and drop the cards at this point, that card is now on top of the deck. So let's say we need to control the 6 of diamonds in this sort of fashion. We're going to cut the deck. We're going to do the jog. We're going to shuffle off. We're going to squeeze up on that jog. And by doing that, that allows us to be able to shuffle to that break and cut that 6 of diamonds right to the top of the deck. So one more time, you're cutting. You're using your thumb to pull this card lower than it needs to be. So you're in-jogging the card towards your body. And then the rest of the cards are going to get shuffled squared with the deck. So once again, that creates your break over here, which you're going to push up on. And now in shuffling to that break and cutting this on top, you have controlled that card back on top of the deck. So the jog is a very important technique because it seemingly allows you to shuffle the cards in a fair fashion, however, ultimately remain with control over that top card. Now, when it comes to running the cards, there are a couple tricks that help you look like you're not doing exactly what you're doing, because it's very easy. For example, if I need to run 4 cards on top of this card, it's very easy to look like I'm doing exactly that. So for that, there's a technique by Laurent Green, who's a wonderful magician. He has a technique known as the Happy Birthday Shuffle. So for this, you are shuffling 1 card per syllable of the song Happy Birthday in your head. Obviously, you're not going to sing it out loud, but in your head, let's say we need 6 cards on top of this top card. That's Happy Birthday to you. And that's always going to be 6 cards if you do it in that cadence, which is kind of an amazing thing because that is an easy way, without really paying much attention, for you to be able to shuffle 6, 12, even up to 18 cards on top of this card without much effort at all. So and in that action, I've just shuffled that card 12 from the top of the deck. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Again, without much effort or mental arithmetic in my mind because I'm just literally humming Happy Birthday in my head. So what we're doing there is that we're combining the action of running cards with the in-jog to allow us to control cards to certain positions. So let's say, again, just for the sake of completeness, we need to control this card 7th from the top of the deck. So you're going to hold the cards in the right hand. You're going to cut the top half to the left hand. And you're going to go into the Happy Birthday Shuffle in your head, of course. Now, it does help to learn this while being able to talk to the spectator so that it doesn't look like you're counting cards on it. So you're going to need to be able to shuffle the cards in a way that you still have the ability to conversate with the spectators. However, you are doing the necessary mechanics necessary to get that card where it needs to be. So in this case, the card is 7th from the top of the deck. So that's 6 and 7. And the way we do that, we undercut here. we're going to run 6 cards. So happy birthday to you. Then we're going to in-jog this card. So this last card over here is going to get in-jogged and we shuffle off. What that allows us to do is that by pulling up on that break and shuffling to that break that we've created, now we're not in a position where that card is on top of the deck. We're in a position where that card is where it needs to be. So one tidbit about the happy birthday shuffle is that you're not going to be able to shuffle the card to the 6th position or the 7th position every time. So you're going to need to modify it depending on however many cards that particular trick calls for. So if you needed 6 from the top of the deck, you're going to need to be able to modify the shuffle so that it's happy birthday to, and there's no U. So in that case, you avoid that 6th card, and then now in shuffling the cards, that card is controlled to where it needs to be, which in this case, 6 from the top of the deck. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as opposed to 7. But that's going to be something that you're going to learn and pick up while you are practicing running cards individually. The next important technique in the overhand shuffle is known as the pickup. So the pickup looks a little bit like that. Now what that allows you to do is if you have a card on top of the deck, without the necessity for an in-jog, it allows you to apparently shuffle the cards while still being able to cut that top card whenever you want to the top of the deck. So the way the pickup shuffle works, we're going to keep this card face up on top of the deck for explanation's sake. We're going to cut about 1/3 of the deck into the left hand. Now as our right hand comes in to get more packets onto the left hand, our ring finger and thumb are going to grip that original top packet and hold it between, again, the ring finger and the thumb in the back. So this is happening as your left thumb is drawing a packet onto the left hand. So the way this works is that you are feeding this packet to the right hand and using the cover of drawing packets to hold that packet in the back, which is a very powerful technique because at any point in time, you could use your left thumb to grab all the cards above that break that you've created and cut that packet right to the top of the deck. So this allows for the very good illusion that you are shuffling the cards thoroughly, however, keeping control of the upper third of the deck. So what this allows you to do is a very effective force of the top card. How that looks is the same exact technique. So we're going to grab the card with our middle finger and thumb as we shuffle that packet, and we're going to have the spectator call stop anytime they want. Let's say they call stop over here. What we do is that we're just simply going to drop this hand over, deposit those cards on top of that packet that they called stop at, and go perfect. Right here, look at your card. So the way this looks in concert is the spectator call stop anytime they want. Stop. Okay, take a look at your card. Right there, King of Spades. Perfect. And from here, you could go on to any sort of jog shuffle that you want to get that card controlled to where you need to be. So in this case, on top of the deck. So one more time, you're using your ring finger, your thumb in the back. You're drawing packets with your left thumb. They call stop anytime they want. And wherever they call stop, you're going to drop this packet off into the left-hand packet and show as the card that they call stopped at. So in order to control that card back to the top of the deck, you're going to do the in-jog we discussed earlier. Shuffle off, lift up at that break, and now by shuffling to that break, we have forced and controlled that card right to the top of the deck in one smooth continuous action. So you see the strength of the overhand shuffle. The next technique here is known as the milk shuffle. So what the milk shuffle is that you are simply putting pressure with your thumb and your fingers in the back as you are doing the overhand shuffle. And what this does is that it preserves the bottom card on the bottom, and it takes the top card and moves it second from the bottom of the deck as you shuffle the cards. So this is useful in a number of ways because if you do that action again, that bottom card remains in the bottom, and by shuffling all the cards and running the cards singly, when you come to the end, you have now kept the top card on top and kept the bottom card on the bottom. So one more time, we're squeezing with our thumb and our forefinger. We're making sure that it's a light touch. We're not squeezing hard enough so we get this very noticeable click. We're just squeezing light enough so that when we shuffle, those cards remain on the top and on the bottom. So by shuffling, the top card is now second from the top of the deck and the bottom card remains in the bottom. So by repeating the actions, that bottom card stays in the bottom and we shuffle off, now leaving that top card back on top where it was. So this technique is useful because the top card stays on the top and the bottom card stays on the bottom, even after a series of apparently very fair overhand shuffles, which is a very useful technique to have in your arsenal because you do want the illusion of being able to shuffle the cards apparently thoroughly and keep the cards in the control that you need. Now, very similarly to the Hindu shuffle, there is a full deck false shuffle with this overhand style that allows you to seemingly shuffle all the cards while keeping and preserving the order of all the cards. So the way that looks is You just saw it. That's the way it looks. It looks that convincing. So here, we're taking advantage of that same idea that we're talking about the pickup. However, what we're doing is that instead of just picking up that one packet, we are cycling through the deck while supposedly shuffling the cards on top of each other. So to give an explanation on that, you're going to get into the same position as a pickup. You're going to undercut about a third or maybe less than that to the left hand. You're going to pick the cards up with your ring finger and your thumb. Now the packet is going to get drawn to the left hand again. However, the only difference is that this time, once we reach and grab the next packet, that original packet is going back underneath that packet that we stole in the beginning. So what you're doing here is that you are cycling the cards and they are never changing order. The hard part about this is going to be maintaining that grip on the cards as you are shuffling packets from the right hand to the left hand. That's going to be the most challenging part about this shuffle. But once you get it in a smooth, consistent action, it just looks like you are shuffling the cards in that overhand style. However, all you're doing is you're grabbing the cards with your ring finger and your thumb, you're pulling off another packet, putting it in the back, and gripping it with your middle finger and thumb, and repeating that action over and over again, giving the illusion that you have shuffled the cards thoroughly. So when done at speed, it looks exactly like you've mixed up the deck and given it a very thorough cut. However, the top card is preserved, the bottom card is preserved. As a matter of fact, all the cards remain in the exact same order. So in keeping with the theme of this series, here is a trick that you could do with the overhand shuffle that's very effective and very powerful for someone that you supposedly just met. So the way that looks is that we're going to have a card picked. In this case, it's going to be the three of spades. Three of spades. That card is lost in the middle of the deck, and we tell the spectator we're going to use a very special technique to find their card. As a matter of fact, they're going to be the ones that find their card, believe it or not. So the way that works is that they are going to find their card with their own name. So for each letter of the name, they're to deal one card onto the top of the table. So let's say their name happens to be Pig Cake. So what happens here is that you hand them the deck, and they deal one card per letter of the name. So that's P-I-G-C-A-K. And on the E, the spectator, of course, turns that card over, and it happens to be the card they picked. So the way this trick works is that you're going to need to know the name of the spectator before we start the trick. It's very easy. You can introduce yourself, you shake your hand, you say your names, and yada, yada, yada. But you're going to use that information because you're going to need to shuffle that amount of cards, depending on a person's name, on top of the card that the spectator picked. So they're going to pick any card. In this case, it's the King of Spades. This card is going to get controlled to the top of the deck in one of the ways that we discussed in a previous lesson. And now we're going to run into the mechanics of that running procedure that we discussed from earlier. So in this case, Pig Cake, I'm going to need to control 6 cards on top of this King of Spades because Pig Cake has 7 letters. So you're going to run 1 card for each letter, forgetting about the last letter. So that's P-I-G-C-A-K. And the next card, the card that would be the E, I'm going to in-jog and shuffle off. So what this allows me to do is by lifting up in the break, now I could shuffle that to that position, and their card is going to be at the appropriate position for them to be able to spell down to their name. So that would be P-I-G-C-A-K and E on the last letter, which is a very strong and powerful trick that you could do using the spectator's own name. We're just using a couple principles of running cards. So that is the overhand shuffle. Again, we're going to split this into 2 different portions because there's going to be a more advanced version and more advanced handlings of the overhand shuffle in a future lesson. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys are getting something out of these wonderful lessons. So thank you guys.